In the previous video, we created a tabular report and we saw some of the features of a tabular report. In this video, we'll be creating summary and matrix reports. Let's start with the tabular report itself and we'll convert it into a summary report first. So that's the tabular report that we created. A tabular report is great for seeing all the fields and data in a table format. It does not have any subtotals. That is the definition of a tabular report. Now let's edit the same report, change the name to summary report. A summary report allows the user to group rows of data and view subtotals, and summary reports are also useful for creating charts. Summary report will give you many more options for organizing the data, and they're great for using in the dashboard as well. So let's start by grouping some rows of data. You can add the group by selecting the field here, or you can go to the field itself. Like for example, let's group the rows of data by stage. Group rows by this field. So now you can see the stage field has become a grouping field, and you have the various opportunities shown under the stage. So you can see the rows of data appearing under a group of stages. So closed one has 12 opportunities, and you can see the subtotal added to the report. The subtotal has been added, but we don't see any subtotals appearing here. So we would go to the number related fields and summarize sum. It shows you the total. So under negotiation review, we have two opportunities. The subtotal of those opportunities is now appearing in this row. Now, normally in a summary report, you would not like to include too much of data, so we can remove some of these columns from the report. We don't need account name, opportunity name, say fiscal period, close date, created date. These are not required for a summary report. Next step, and that's it. We can also create additional groups. So for example, we could group the data by type, group rows by this field. This means now we are looking at the data by stage and by type. So you have 12 closed won opportunities, of which 8 are of type existing customer and 4 are of type new customer. And you get the subtotals for both the groups. Under existing customer, you have a subtotal. You have a subtotal for new customer. And then there is another subtotal for closed won opportunities, which is the last row in the report. Let's save and run this report. So the opportunity summary report has been saved and run. Now, once the report has been run, you can also have an option of adding a chart. It gives you a default chart, which is grouped by the stage. We can go to the chart property settings and we can make it a columnar chart if that visual makes more sense to us, or we can make it a stacked bar. In this case, since we have two levels of grouping, a stacked bar would be more useful for us. In the summary report, you can then choose to show the row counts or not show the row counts. You see those counts have disappeared from the groups. You can choose to not show the detailed rows and just show the summary figures. You may want the subtotals to display or not. And the grand totals, if the grand total doesn't make sense, you can shut off the grand total and only show the subtotals. So that concludes summary report. Next, we'll be looking at creating a matrix report. We'll continue editing the same report. We'll change the name to matrix report. A matrix report allows you to group the records both by row and by column. It takes a bit of time to set up a matrix report, but it also provides the most detailed view of our data. Like summary reports, matrix reports can also have graphs and they can be used in dashboards. In our case, instead of having two levels of grouped rows, we will shift type to group columns. Now, if you're familiar with pivot tables in Excel, you will recognize a matrix report shows you the groups by row and grouped by column. We could also choose to have two levels of grouping. So let's additionally group the data by lead source and shift lead source on top of type. So now you have, let's remove the chart so we get some additional space to view the report. Now we have the columns being grouped by lead source, so web, phone inquiry, purchase list, etc. And then the type. So you have a lead source, word of mouth, under which you have summarized by type, existing customer, upgrade, and new customer. And the rows are grouped by stage. Now, depending on your use case, you can of course move these columns around. And let's say you want to group the rows by lead source, you can do that. Remove lead source from the group columns and add stage to the group columns instead. So now the rows are grouped by lead source. And for that lead source, you can see the columns grouped by stage and then by type. So for the lead source word of mouth, you have closed won opportunities from existing customers totaling to $110,000 and a count of 2 opportunities. And you can see the details of those 2 opportunities in the detailed panel. So we have named it as opportunity matrix report. We have grouped the rows by lead source and we have grouped the columns by stage and type. Let's save and run this report. It shows us we have a total of 31 opportunities, the total amount of the opportunities, and then the lead source, and then the rows grouped by lead source and the columns grouped by stage and type. If we click on a particular cell, it will show us the opportunities in the detail panel, and we can analyze the opportunities saying lead source blank, stage is needs analysis, and type is existing customer has got 1 opportunity worth 675, and here are the details of that opportunity. Similarly, you can go to, let's say, negotiation review, existing customer, and lead source blank, and you have 2 opportunities, the details of which are shown here. Under close one, you can see you got a lead source of web, stage is closed one, and type is new customer, and you have 1 opportunity, the details of which can be seen here. You can also add a chart to a matrix report. And going to the chart properties, you can again make it a stacked bar or a stacked column chart. So you can see in the stacked bar chart, you can see the lead source as the x-axis and y-axis showing you the sum of amount. So that concludes matrix report. Next, we'll see how to use these reports in a dashboard.